Good morning, everybody. So by quick show of hands, who remembers the quadratic formula? All right, so you probably remember it because you learned it in song form to the tune of Papa's Weasel. And the reason why is because music has an effect on our ability to remember knowledge that we have stored in our brain. So I thought about why I remembered this so well, and so I looked more deeper into it, and music has this ability to help us remember information, but also when we're learning new information, it helps us remember it better. So today I want to explain to you the effect music can have on your memory. It has been known to help with memory retention. It can strengthen your brain, and it also has a beneficial impact on youth while they're still learning. So to begin, music has been shown to help people retain information that we've already stored in our brain. Rhyme and pattern is a major component of this in helping us remember information. According to Adam Sinicki, in an article he wrote for Health Guidance, he mentions how rhyme and patterns are useful in helping us remember information. He says that when our brain recognizes rhymes, it greatly reduces the number of candidates your brain has to consider, and so helps you to find the right answer much more quickly. So in other words, when you remember something in a sequence of memorization or in a pattern with a rhyme, it helps you recognize, like in a rap, if you say the word orange, you're not going to think of something quickly off of the top of your head to rhyme with orange. But if you say ham, you're going to think of lamb. So in this image here, it's the first two lines of Mary Had a Little Lamb. And you can see the colored letters are the notes, but the numbers underneath also represent like the five, like your fingers. So if you were playing this on a piano, you use finger number 3 for Mary. So when you like sing it out, your fingers like coordinate with the pattern. And then the rhyme is obviously snow, and then in the next 4 lines, go. So rhyme and pattern is obviously really effective in helping us remember. Another point that Sinicki mentions is repetition. So when we were young, we obviously heard this nursery rhyme a lot, so it's probably why we recognize it very well. But I also have an example of my dad. He loves to listen to music constantly listening to music. But when he plays his old music, he's a disco guy. When he plays his music, he remembers the words so well, but it's because when he was younger, he listened to it so often that he remembers it. So now, when he hears it, he will start singing the words before the words even come on, just to prove to us how well he remembers it. So repetition is obviously really effective in that as well. But not only does music help us remember material through repetition and rhyme, it can also strengthen our brain, like with brain games. So strengthening our brain is important because it keeps our mind sharp and it keeps us being able to think critically. So allowing our brain to multitask strengthens it to better process information. Lawrence O'Donnell is a Scottish musicist, and he addresses this strengthening issue with the claim that Baroque music, such as Mozart, it allows for the simultaneous left and right brain action to maximize learning and retention of information, which causes the brain to process more information. So by listening or playing to music, it allows both sides of our brain to be active, and it increases the capacity for us to remember information that we've previously stored, or to learn new information and help us remember it for the next time. And with this, musicians have an advantage. They have a higher neural plasticity. William Clem, a memory medic, wrote for Psychology Today on how beneficial music training is for the brain. He notes that musicians are commonly studied models for neuroplasticity, which refers to the ability of learning experiences to change the brain chemically and physically. So their brain is physically changed to take in more information at once. So thus the brain has a higher capacity to receive, interpret, and remember information that we learn. which can also result in better language and general auditory processing. So in this image, I just want to focus on the hippocampus part and the amygdala part, which are the primary locations in the brain that deal with memory. So it's involved with music, memories, experiences, and context. So if you were studying for a test and you're listening to a certain song, when you're actually taking that test, if you remember the song you were listening to, it could help you, through context, it could help you remember what you were studying or the information that you need for the exam. And then the amygdala is involved with emotional reactions to music. So the way that we react emotionally to a song can also help us remember how we feel about a certain situation or certain facts that we learn. Listening to music, classical music in particular, has also been shown to help Alzheimer's patients improve their memory. So as we know, Alzheimer's patients, they have a tendency to not remember short term. So listening to the music helped them to remember, help to improve their memory. And then finally, music can have a significant effect on children when they're still learning and their brains are still developing. So listening to music better prepares young children to learn and remember information. It improves their performance in learning activities, and it encourages them to want to learn new information and to want to retain it. Sherry Lucas from PBS recommends using upbeat, popular music to motivate learning, especially songs with lyrics that encourage positive thinking. So children are very impressionable, but when they listen to this upbeat music, it makes them want to learn, and they become more focused and they're more likely to participate in activities. It improves their speech, it improves their vocabulary memorization, and things like that. So after hearing all of this information, it should be clear that the effect music has on people's memory is good. It helps us to remember things. It helps us to learn new information in a greater capacity. So music is beneficial because it has clearly been shown that retaining information is easier when people listen or even play music, and it strengthens our brains so that your mind does not lag in processing new material, and it has a significant effect on how children learn as young students. So next time you study, consider listening to your favorite song because it might just help you pass your test.
So Allison, what did you think?
I thought you did really well. There was a good roadmap. I knew exactly what you were going to talk about, and you talked about every single point. I think that your visuals were good. The first one, you had a little trouble explaining it, but you got through it. The second one, there was a little bit too much unnecessary information on it. When you only explained one or two parts of the brain, but there were like 10 on there. But you had good eye contact, you engaged us, you talked to us, you opened up with the question, and we all know about the math equation. So yeah, overall I thought it was good.
All right, well, I feel ignorant because I don't know about the math equation and the way it was done. And that's why I thought that would have been a great attention device, because you make a reference to it and everybody knows it because they are doing the same song. I'm going, I don't know that one. And so it just jumped into my head immediately. That would have maybe worked a little bit better. The audience survey thing probably would have been a good follow-up to doing that. That's a minor quibble. I thought the topic was very clearly identified. You had an excellent thesis statement, an excellent preview. I have a very good idea about why it is I'm listening to this presentation and what I'm going to get from it. So you're doing a solid job there. The content I thought was really good. You consistently cite information in the presentation. There's information on each of the points, usually 2 or 3 pieces of information that you've got there, so it feels like it's full. Plus you've got explanations. You add a little bit to make it interesting, like the story about your dad knowing all of the disco music and that sort of thing. I was sitting there last night. I went to, we had a tough week, we were gone, and trying to get back to normal. We went to a movie last night, and we saw a movie that came out in 1986, and it's a musical. And I'm sitting there and I'm singing along with all the songs. I'm going, I must have seen this movie about 10,000 times because I know all of the songs, all the lyrics in the song. So and I was immediately drawn in by what you were talking about there, and I could personalize it and relate it to what I was experiencing too. I think Allison picked out almost all of the things that I was going to say about the visuals. You had a little bit of trouble with that first one. I think there's an idea there, and that's a good place maybe where that quadratic equation thing would go into place. So I'm going, okay, what are the formula things that you do? X times Z equals, I don't know what it is. You guys apparently all know what it is, so, that might have been a good place to maybe show us as you went along with the song, that kind of thing. And then the numbers, that I understood what you were talking about there. Then I'm trying to think, okay, so how does people use this to remember something? And there could have been a little bit extra there. The brain image, she pointed out, there's a lot of stuff there that you don't really need. This is one of those places where a little extra editing would probably be a good idea. If you could just white out all of the stuff that you're not going to make a reference to, or just highlight, for instance, the two things that you are going to talk about, that might have been a way to solve that problem. Probably whiting out the other things would be the best way to go on that, so you just have the two things that you are focusing on there. Not a huge problem, just one of those things that you could do to make things better. 90% of the time your delivery is really solid. You're looking at us, you're talking to us, you engage us. I like that. You seem to know the subject pretty well. You do have to read a little bit once in a while, which everybody's going to do. And when you do that, you do have a tendency to go down. I just thought it was strange that you didn't pull out of that as fast as you did everything else. I mean, it felt like sometimes you went into it, you're doing the reading, and then even when you're done reading, you still kind of look down a little bit and keep talking, and then it's like slowly you come back into the speech, and it just feels like you can get back into and engage us a little bit faster than that. That's such a minor quibble because most of the time I think you're doing exactly the stuff that we're going to be asking you to do in the future. All right, thank you.